but not perfect like, four perfect sides or making the perfect decisions to form all that stuff is boring. I'm sorry. All that crap, that type of perfection is boring. And the Beatles were anything except boring, okay? Hi, I'm Jackie. Welcome to my bower. Were the Beatles perfect? Well, I think that the answer to that would be, in some ways, yes. Now, were the Beatles, John, Paul, George, and Ringo, were they perfect people, perfect men? No, absolutely not. They were absolutely flawed human beings, just like all of us. Was every song perfect? No, absolutely not. Were all of their decisions perfect? No. Did they make a lot of mistakes? Yeah, they certainly did. Did they experience a lot of tragedy and heartache, etc.? Oh, absolutely they did. They certainly did. But what I feel is what I call like the Beatles. Okay, the Beatles, like their experience, their story, everything that happened to them, what they did to get to where they are, the people that they knew, the things that happened, and in all the songs, all the music, all the barriers that they broke down, all the records that they set, everything, their story, them together as a group, the Beatles, all of that collective stuff, okay, I'm going to call that perfect. Okay, is everybody like okay with that? Probably not, but this is me. I'm going to call that like perfect. Everything that happened was like perfect and magical. And it does all start with those four guys and what they experience. And, and it's like when they all get together, like what George Harrison says, and you're going to hear me repeat it time and time again, because when you get those four certain people together, it creates fire. And when they get together, it basically raises the temperature in the room and it creates something special that takes us like some place that no one ever thought was going to happen because, here they are in the 60s, we've got all these artists, or in the 50s even, you have Elvis, et cetera, the Shadows, et cetera. You've got rock and roll going on. You got a lot of great stars, okay? But when the Beatles, okay, they just like blew everything else out of the water. Here's everybody else and here's the Beatles up here. Kind of like exactly where it is right now. It's like, here's everybody else, okay, at varying degrees, but here's the Beatles. Up here, nothing can touch them. Nothing can touch them. And it's not just the music, it's their story. We're all talking about it, we're all feeling it, we're all trying to understand it because this incredible thing happened. And like, how did it happen? It's basically, transcended any kind of reality that we had experienced or probably will experience ever again. It's magic, like what George Harrison said, and they can't explain it. Nobody can really explain it. All we can do is like feel it. Okay. We feel it, we sense it, and it makes us cry. Because it's a thing of beauty and it touches us deep inside, It's like almost like a beautiful sunset or a perfect sunrise, or maybe, like a laughing baby or a wonderful concert or a wonderful theatrical performance, just the right thing. It really touches you, it moves you, and it stays with you, it lingers, okay? And maybe it even makes you better for the experience. And all those things are perfect. They're just magical in their way, just like the Beatles. The whole experience is perfection. It's magical. Can't be duplicated, okay? They're like the perfect soup. Okay, and so one day you're making the soup and you're just talking on the phone and everything and you're watching TV and you're just making the soup, you're just throwing all kinds of stuff in there. Maybe you're even putting a lot of stuff you shouldn't put in there. Maybe you're putting in some rotten milk, maybe you're putting in some toadstools or maybe some rotten cabbage, peanut butter, everything is just going in there, some chocolate bar. You're just not paying attention, you're not writing it down. You're just thinking, okay, I'm just doing this. I'm just making this tonight. This is what we're eating. Okay, this is what's happening because you're in your zone and you're just not feeling, not thinking, it's just happening. Okay, I'm making the soup. And everybody's tasting this everybody's tasting this magical concoction. And they're going, oh my God, this tastes so good. Let's have this again sometime. What'd you put in it? And you're kind of going, you know what? I don't know what I put in it. Okay, you better check. I think we're missing some dog food here. So maybe some dog food went in it too, whatever. But it's just this stuff. Who knows what went into it? Who knows? I mean, who knows what all went into the Beatles? We're all trying to figure it out. We're doing all these forensics on it. Good luck with the forensics on that soup. But we're giving it our go because maybe, if we figure out, we can just get closer to what they felt. Maybe we'll, go there again. Well, it's doubtful. We're probably not going to go there. The only way we can go there again, close to it, is by watching, those concerts, the black and white stuff, that live performance of the Beatles. And that guy, he's walking around with his, I don't know, his hot dogs or popcorn. And he's just standing, this freckle-faced kid, just standing there next to the stairs. And he's watching the Beatles. And he's just crying. He's just crying. This guy is just listening to this. And he's just oh my God, what am I feeling? This young guy, and the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, all those people in the audience, and they're singing, Please Please Me. And they zoom in on this one woman and she's got her hair all done up and she's just like this. She's sobbing. She's sobbing today. And I'm that woman. I'm sobbing. The Beatles, because what is happening in front of me? All that chemistry and all that magic. They're having fun. They're everything. And you're feeling all their history. You're feeling their story. And it's going out across the studio audience, raising the temperature 100 degrees. And we're all enveloped in that heat that they're projecting. Okay. And the fairy dust and the magic and everything that they're giving us. And we can feel it in that moment. That's how come when I'm watching the Ed Sullivan Show reruns, I'm just glued. I have to, say I'm doing something else, I stop and I watch and I sit and I relax and I'm watching everything because I want to feel that because it transcends everything that we know. There's just nothing else like it. And how can you not call all of that perfection? They just draw people to them, all the people that they knew in the beginning. Like Klaus and Astrid, just drew these people to them, and then Brian and Mal, everybody wants to just be near them. They don't understand it. They just, something is happening here. Just like with George Martin. George Martin just probably didn't like their sound too much, but he goes, okay, let's sign them up because there's something here. This is what I'm talking, because everybody's feeling it. It's right then and there. Oh, to be like George Martin or those people who knew them before fame and everything, when you could get close to that fire, when you could get close to that magic and almost see the sparks kind of come out of them. And it's not just the music, it's the performance, it's the being, it's that invisible bond between them where they have, where they have that secret language that they just understand each other so well. And that's why they can perform together so well. And I'm trying to describe it as perfection. The only reason I'm talking about it right now is because of this documentary I saw on Secretariat the other day. And these historians were talking about Secretariat and these kind of terms and how Secretariat was just above and beyond all the other horses that year, just about everything else. And he just transcended everything. And just blew everything else out of the water, just like the Beatles did when they became famous and everything, blew everything else out of the water. Nothing else like them. And here's this, and if you know Secretariat, in 1973, I loved horses. And of course, I know Secretariat. I followed him back then because I enjoyed watching horse racing. And I'd seen him win the Belmont before. He won the Derby, he won the Preakness and the Belmont. All these very difficult, grueling horse races that you got to win all three of them that same year to win the Triple Crown. And this was 1973, and it hadn't happened since the 40s. So here's Secretariat, and like I said, all these other horses that he's running against would have been probably champions, a couple of them, any other year except for Secretariat. And here he is winning that Belmont, and every time I see that Belmont race, it just brings, tears to my eyes, because here he is. He's just getting out in front. And he wasn't out in front the whole way, but it was sort of, I think he began to get out front about halfway there. And he starts pulling away from the pack. And the announcer there, he's talking, and here comes Secretariat, and he's moving like a tremendous machine. And when you hear that, even the announcer's kind of going, what am I looking at? And the crowd is just, probably louder than a Beatle crowd, okay? Because they're just screaming and shouting, and you hear the horses are galloping, and the announcer and everything is just building and surging. And here's this horse just running out on his own, like 31 lengths beyond everything, breaking every record, just flying. He's like Pegasus. He's like just transcending everything. They thought, how is this possible? We never imagined that like this could happen, just like with the Beatles. Could not imagine that that would have happened. You got Elvis, you got Cliff, everybody else, the Stones and everything. Yeah, these are all super duper. But here's the Beatles. Here's this magnificent beast. And here's Seabiscuit, this other, not Seabiscuit, but Secretariat, this other magnificent beast, just kind of just rearing his head and just doing it, making it look so easy. And you have these historians on the documentary. One historian, he was there at that Belmont when Secretariat won by 31 lengths. And he was talking about watching, there's these kids along the railing, watching Secretariat come home and cross the finish line. And he says that these kids, they were all just in tears, just absolutely crying. And he was just like amazed at that. And everybody's screaming and shouting and hugging. It's pandemonium basically. And he says he started to cry too because of the emotion, because he's like beginning to realize, what did I just witnessed something that, how can you even describe it? And he had a hard time describing it, other than being otherworldly and something, just out of the realm of possibility. It's like, what happened? And he called a colleague. One of his colleagues was supposed to be there at the race, and he didn't show up. So he called him at the hotel room, and he goes, "Hey, did you see that? Did you see it?" And the guy in the hotel room goes, "Yeah, I was watching it on TV, and I was just screaming and shouting and yelling, and I cried." And so here's these men and the kids and everybody around just crying because of what they had just witnessed, because of the emotions it took them, it made them realize the possibilities, like the potential, something out there that's just excellence and perfection. There's just no other way to say it. And so that's how I kind of likened it to the Beatles. I was going, okay, they came close to describing it here. This horse, just otherworldly and excellence and just beyond anything that you could imagine. That's kind of like what happened with the Beatles. Not a perfect horse. Obviously, he lost a couple of races. But same with the Beatles, not perfect people. But the whole story and everything that they did, even the album covers and everything they did, the stupid movies that they made, magical, all that stuff, it's all perfect, all wonderful. We weep. They still make us weep. They still make us cry, when we watch Get Back and we're watching Paul McCartney writing Get Back. And we're weeping and we're crying and we're watching, Ringo and George all cleaned up and they're writing Octopus's Garden together, okay? And they are, like up on the roof. It's like them, it's like they're like Secretariat here with 31 lengths. They're just above and beyond. They're just above and beyond anything else. So iconic up there on the roof. Yeah. Because then the Beatles are lifted up too. They go into this other zone and you can see them there, like during the song, Don't Let Me Down. And here's John just kind of, I can't do it, but here's John just being like a Pied Piper. And they're all kind of dancing to his tune and they're all in tune together because they're rising above all the squabbles and everything else and all the stupid stuff that happened, the stupid studio, and Magic Alex and all the mics that didn't work and all the rehearsals and George, everything else. All that stuff that happened, and they go up on the roof. Without all that crap, wouldn't have been up on the roof. And here they are, and they're all together. Don't Let Me Down. They're dancing together, all as one, and I just watch that performance. It's incredible, and it makes me cry. And just like now, they still make me cry it's because it's the Beatles. It's when they get together. Just like when Paul and Ringo now, and they're kind of hanging out together and they're being cute and Beatley. It's magic. And can you imagine being around all four of them now? If all four of them were around right now and being Beatley together, because of course sometimes now they'd probably get together every once in a while to do documentaries because they would have put all the crap behind them. They'd all be Beatley together. But it's also when I was watching that last year when Paul and Ringo are on stage together, and I weep every time I see that. because there they are. There's Ringo, and he's on his kit, and here's Paul in front of him. They're so close together, and they're singing the Sgt. Pepper reprise and Helter Skelter. And here's Ringo just doing what he does. I'm going, oh my God, does he move like that to anybody else? Is it only when he's doing Beatles songs does he do that? When he moves his head and does the drums, oh my God. And here's, of course, Paul just doing his thing. And there they are. You can feel it. It's sort of there. We're feeling it. We're so close to it. So close. We're just getting a taste of that, and just the taste, and we're still weeping. Are we ever going to experience all this again? Who knows? Maybe not in my lifetime. So that's a come. I'm just going to keep on talking about it, watching the movies, hoping Anthology gives us more, and listening to all their music, and hopefully they'll release even more. I don't know if perfection is the right word to use or not, but I'm just going to use it until a better word comes along. And I do appreciate you all coming along with me, all you transcendent Beatle fans. I do appreciate it. And until next time, peace and love one another. Take care.
Beatles is Beatles, Beatle. In the end, it's like, oh, sod off with the Beatles,